In other words, every time Joe Biden fails to get what he wants, life gets better for everyone, is the basic synopsis here.
But at this time, we continue to recommend masking in areas of high and substantial transmission.
2 Democratic governors today making big moves to ease COVID restrictions. Next hour, Governor Phil Murphy will detail a plan to end New Jersey's mask mandate in schools effective the second week of March. And the Delaware governor, John Carney, today announced 2 shifts. A statewide indoor mask mandate will end this coming Friday.
Now you've got, for example, New Jersey announcing that they want to end school masking. Now remember, right now in Virginia, you got the left yelling at Glenn Youngkin for doing the exact same thing. Glenn Youngkin was like, listen, I ran on, we're unmasking the kids. And then you have Glenn Youngkin going into stores where there is no mask mandate for adults and getting yelled at by random people. But when Phil Murphy in New Jersey says it, this makes him good, even though he's doing it 5 minutes after Glenn Youngkin did it.
Virginia Democrats are blasting Governor Youngkin's move to lift mask mandates. Now some lawmakers are calling for him to rescind the executive order.
I ask him to rescind this executive order and stop threatening to defund our schools.
For Governor Youngkin to step in on day one and remove the local board's authority to, ability to implement mask requirements, in schools is really reckless. And it's driven by politics. And I'm hopeful that the governor will rescind his executive order.
And so now they're attempting to move off of this because if they get stuck in full pandemic restriction mode forever, they're toast. Joe Biden has to know this. We got 3 weeks until Joe Biden gives his much ballyhooed State of the Union. I promise you, by the time we hit the State of the Union address, it's not going to be Nancy Pelosi saying that there are only 25 people in the Capitol Rotunda. Instead, she's going to be saying that there are tons of people who are available for the joint session of Congress. Everybody can come. Everybody who's vaxxed gets to be unmasked. If you're unvaxxed, then we're going to tell you not to come so that she can create controversy about the evil unvaxxed Republicans. But that is going to be her move. And at that State of the Union address, Joe Biden will be declaring that the pandemic is basically over. He's going to say that we now have the tools to fight issues if they crop up again. We know how to manufacture RNA vaccines. We know how to get you masks. We know how to do all the things we need to do. And so I'm happy to tell you I have defeated COVID. That will be Joe Biden's line. No, it won't be true. COVID defeated COVID.
Also today, the American Academy of Pediatrics reporting new childhood cases rose 69% last week. Hospitalizations held steady. Hospitalizations held steady. Hospitalizations held steady.
Parents, not bureaucrats, not elected officials, are the proper decision makers for whether their children should wear masks in schools or not.
Just a few days into his term now, and there is already pushback and confusion about one of Governor Glenn Youngkin's first orders of business. He signed an executive order lifting mask mandates in schools. And several Northern Virginia school districts responded by reminding parents that mask requirements are still in effect.
First tonight, the masks are finally coming off, finally, even in far left states like New York and Illinois. But while the mandates are finally coming to an end, there's one weird, bizarre, puzzling exception. In many blue states, children, the ones that have a 0% statistical COVID-19 death rate, that aren't impacted like older people and people with comorbidities, people obese, people with pre-existing conditions, compromised immune systems. Yeah, the least likely people to get seriously ill from COVID, they're still forcing your children to wear masks in school and other public settings. This isn't about science. This is about health. It's not about health or safety either, or the spread of COVID. Democrats, teachers unions, they are playing politics with the well-being of your children. And the last thing these people want to do is what they keep telling us to do: follow the science.
2 Democratic governors today making big moves to ease COVID restrictions. Next hour, Governor Phil Murphy will detail a plan to end New Jersey's mask mandate in schools effective the second week of March. And the Delaware governor, John Carney, today announced 2 shifts. A statewide indoor mask mandate will end this coming Friday, and Delaware's universal school mask mandate will end on March 31st. Now, this is why these governors are taking these steps. You see, this is New Jersey. You see the big Omicron spike here coming way down. Hospitalizations and deaths in New Jersey also trending down. This is Delaware. Again, you see the big Omicron spike. Yellow is the cases. Giant drop in recent days in the cases. Deaths and hospitalizations in New Jersey also trending down. So is this a movement about to come. There are 15 states plus D.C. that have some form of mask mandate in place. Some of these are case dependent. Some of these have exemptions and caveats, but 15 states plus D.C. still have mask mandates in place. Are they about to fall?
The message is similar from school officials in the city of Alexandria, Loudoun, and Arlington counties, where advocates stress masks not only protect kids, but teachers.
That's something that we really have to have and must have. To be able to continue to do the jobs that we do.
So far, there are 3 lawsuits against Governor Youngkin and his executive order. Many school districts in Virginia have defied it by maintaining their mask policies, including Fairfax County, one of 7 school divisions suing the governor.
I think that it's an abuse of power of the school districts suing them.
The attorney for the school boards argued in the first hearing at the Arlington Circuit Court Wednesday the governor is violating the Constitution. The judge says her decision isn't going to be about who's right or wrong on masks, but who has the legal authority.
We will be maintaining our mask mandate.
Jason Camrus is the superintendent of Richmond's 55 public schools. Here in Richmond and a number of other school districts across the state, there's concern that without mask mandates, the spike in COVID cases will only get worse.
And this is about who is best positioned to make a decision with regards to their child's health.
Governor Glenn Youngkin only doubling down on his executive order to give parents the choice to mask their kids in schools. While in Alexandria to promote his effort to eliminate grocery taxes, Youngkin stressed his support for parents suing the Loudoun County School Board over choosing to keep mask requirements in class.
I'm just so proud of parents that are standing up to protect their children's rights.
The governor, attorney general, and superintendent of public instruction have sided with the parents by joining the lawsuit. 3 parents of elementary school kids say the school board has directly interfered with the rights of parents. They say masks have provided adverse physical and mental health effects.
I am so thankful that the governor and the attorney general are weighing in for the people of the state of Virginia.
And this week, she ended the mask mandate for adults, but not for the people that are the least vulnerable, and not for the people that are least impacted by this, the kids. Now, here is wannabe governor of Georgia, or in her mind, still governor of Georgia, Stacey Abrams, and she fully supports all the mask mandates for kids, but she can't be bothered to be a good example and wear one herself because of her age alone. Never mind maybe any comorbidities she may have. Abrams is at a much higher risk for COVID-19 than any one of those kids with their mask on in that room. And yet she's the only one not wearing the mask. Now, here is a 70-year-old lady, Jill Biden, also no mask, surrounded by kids, all wearing masks. And here is 64-year-old teachers union boss Randy Weingarten, maskless on MSDNC, demanding your kids continue to wear masks. Take a look.
We understand what governors are saying. We also want to make sure that people are safe, and that the CDC has not amended our guidance right now. We continue to recommend masking in schools for everyone. We continue to recommend masking in public indoor settings in areas of higher substantial transmission, and that right now is everywhere in the country.
What are your thoughts on children, first of all, needing to wear masks at school, and what do you think about the possibility we're going to be able to lift?
Well, certainly there will come a time, hopefully sooner rather than later, when we will be able to lift the mask mandate in general, including to schools, but we're not there yet.
In the last week, the Democrats realized that they are on the wrong side of the American people, because there are a series of really, really bad photo ops for Democrats. It began at one of the big NFL games with the LA Rams, when Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, appeared next to Magic Johnson, unmasked. Magic Johnson is a 62-year-old overweight black man who has HIV. Okay, so he is immunocompromised in the classic sense of being immunocompromised. That is what HIV does. And Gavin Newsom was right next to him, unmasked. And Gavin Newsom tried to make excuses for it, and he said he had his mask on his hand as though his hand was transmitting COVID or something. But everybody understood that for the specials, the rules do not apply. So it looked really bad for Gavin Newsom. And then he wasn't the only one, right? Then we also had Eric Garcetti, the mayor of Los Angeles, who was unmasked, standing directly next to Magic Johnson. Because everybody apparently in the stadium had to get a photo unmasked with Magic Johnson. So Eric Garcetti took a photo with Magic Johnson. He got shellacked. And then he said, well, I was holding my breath. And everybody laughed at him because that's ridiculous.
According to multiple studies, face masks are harming the development of our kids. A report in USA Today details how first graders are way behind in reading. Kids are also having a harder time making friends and recognizing faces. Speaking and motor skills apparently also are impaired. One 3-year-old in New Jersey was kicked out of speech therapy for not wearing their mask. Others are forced out of school altogether. You have 29 students in Loudoun County in Virginia suspended for mask violations, despite Governor Youngkin's order making masks optional. He'll join us in a minute. Meanwhile, in the Bronx in New York and in New York City, 2 high schoolers were suspended. They weren't wearing their masks. But here is the idiotic fill-in New York Governor Kathy Hochul making 0 cents. In the Bronx, no masks surrounded by masked children.